Good morning and welcome to the CAD Class podcast. I'm Josh.
I'm Jake.
And each week we talk all things CAD, 3D printing, making, and we have a bit of a special episode, which we hope to make a little bit of a trend here on the CAD Class pod. And that is, Jake, you have been working through all of the feedback we've gotten since launching Mastering Fusion 360, the book and the course. You are steeped in what people like and don't like and frustration and all of the other things.
Which is frustration is such a powerful word. I think the theme of this week should be errata. Errata. What is errata? Errata is everything that you did wrong the first time and you're planning on changing it for the second round.
That's right.
I have gone through every single page, every single step, every single second of the course and the book, and everyone's fantastic reviews, even the ones that go, "This sucked." That's completely fine. That is totally acceptable of a response, and I do love to see it. And we have taken every single bit of consideration and comment and concern about every single step, and we're now starting the process to work on edition 2. We're now finishing some of the new projects that'll be coming out in the next episode. But there's literally a change to every single project in the entire book. Not only that, but the entire order of the book is going to be changed. The entire process, the reaching out to us, the community, everything is going to be completely fresh. And I'm really, really excited about it. One of the things that we got from a lot of people, just consistently going through all the comments on Discord, all the reviews on the course, is that there is a smattering of people that love one project, and then the exact same smattering of people that hate another project, and then vice versa. We never found a single project that everyone loved, or a single project that everyone hated.
I remember those early discussions when we had our beta testers going through the program, and I remember those pieces of feedback rolling in, and they're so confusing. You're like, oh, okay, this and it's not just that somebody likes it and dislikes it. It's that somebody goes, this is the best thing since sliced bread.
Because
this is the
this one
thing I've had. Because I got all this stuff out of it. And then the next person goes, you may as well take that, smash it up into a billion pieces, stomp on it, throw it in the ocean, burn it. Like the diametrically opposed, completely opposite. It's like it's hard to make sense of that, Jake. And I think we're in for a good one. I've got a cheesy quote about feedback. I'm going to read a cheesy quote. I thought I can't come into an episode about feedback.
Give me some cheesy.
And not give you some cheese. So, okay. Average players, we're talking sports here, but this is the same idea. Average players want to be left alone. Good players want to be coached. Great players want to be told the truth. Doc Rivers. I think
I would love for you to how to make a tangent into this.
I think we are in the business of trying to understand what people really truly want and what helps them achieve their goals and dreams and desires. And Jake, you and I have seen this. We have experienced the, let's say, unpleasantness of getting feedback that is painful to receive, such as
but nothing nasty. Yeah,
close to it though. Not nasty, but like, basically this is a completely useless, worthless. How could you write a guide so bad? I think that was a bit of our feedback that we got.
That is almost a direct quote, which is fine, which is completely fine.
Yeah. If you guys haven't written us a review on Amazon for the book, but you have bought the book, please leave a review. I can't stand looking at that 0 star. No, but I thought that's true. I think as businesses, as individuals, the only way we get better is to hear the truth, and sometimes it's really hard to hear. So before we get too far, Jake, couple housekeeping things. Good morning, Sam, Johnny Yurtafan, Joe Street, Afro 3D Printer. Afro, I can't remember where you're calling in from. I want to say no. I'm not even gonna guess, because I'm gonna guess somewhere way off in Africa, and it's just gonna be silly. Spitfire, good morning, and good morning, Cadence. So we had some things coming in the Jake Cord. In the Jake Cord diss.
In the what? In the what?
That's right. The Jake Cord. Yep. Will you check the Jake Cord? Oh, he's in the UK. For some reason, I thought he was calling us from somewhere actually in Africa, but I was wrong.
Yeah, it is. We've got a pretty healthy amount of people that are doing 3D printing projects, which is fantastic. I'm currently 3D printing a a model that I meant to print 4 years ago. When the Cybertruck came out, everyone was just like gobsmacked, either for positive or for negative at the design. Somebody made this little Cybertruck toy truck, and it's been on my mind to print and have for years, literally 4 years now. And we're going to be putting out a video this week about some of the efficiencies within 3D printing and CAD that we kind of came across because of our fantastic community. So hopefully that'll be available on Friday. And we're going to be talking a little bit about efficiencies of projects in a whole. And, well, I need a Cybertruck model. So that's coming down the line. It is ridiculous just how much I am the only person here that actually likes it.
Well, it gets at something important, right? So I think what Cybertruck did really well is differentiate themselves from everything else on the market. They
Completely
said, instead of designing something reasonable, let's just go ahead and do it unreasonably. And one of the things I think that's interesting is, in the world of products and businesses, the ones that don't do very well are the ones that tend to stay pretty close to the norm, right? So if you wanted to start a business, you wouldn't say, well, let me just do what everybody else does, but make a slight tweak or modification. If you wanted to have some impact, you would actually want people to go, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. And you'd want another segment of the population going, that's the absolute best thing I could ever imagine. That polarity, those opposites, create tension, they create press, they create headlines, they create all of the things that go into that. So
I do think design-wise, I'm a huge fan of it. Regardless of the insides, I really dig it. And I totally recognize.
Have you pulled up next to one?
Yeah. I've seen it.
Every time I pull up next to one of mine, I'm like, what am I even looking at here? What is this?
Of what, just to keep on the design area, because that's where we talk. Of what I've heard from people who actually do own them, they said 80% of the people that show up and actually talk to the people in real life have never seen it or heard about it before, which is bizarre.
You're like,
in the tech field.
Yeah,
it's been everywhere. Okay. And apparently the majority of those people go, wow, that looks like a spaceship. That looks sci-fi. That looks so futuristic. That looks crazy. So I don't know if I'm just in the echo chamber of everyone going, oh, everyone hates it. And that's fine, which is fine. Everyone's allowed to have their own opinion about it. That's okay.
I mean, they're all wrong, but welcome to your own opinion. Mine's right, yours is wrong, because that's what opinions do. So why don't we dive into Discord, Jake, before we...
I think let's dive into it.
We have some cool stuff going on.
As always. I
love
our community so much.
I saw Jostri in here, and we're starting to see some of Jostri's upcoming designs.
Yes,
I think he was
on the I Made a thing.
Yeah, so he's up there. I know we're jumping around a little bit, but
yeah, really quick. We got Richard Spitfire making what is this? A mount for an RC float plane. Do you know what that is, Josh? I have no idea. What that is. A float plane?
Yeah, a float plane is the plane. Remember when I was in Alaska, the plane that actually lands on water?
Oh, it's a plane that floats.
Yeah. Imagine that. Yeah,
I've always just called it like a. I don't even know what I thought it was called, a water plane.
Yeah,
I don't know.
And then there's naming competitions. It's like Floaty McFloatface, and
that's wonderful. I like that.
Bodie McBoatface, wasn't it? Bodie McBoatface that won the thing.
Yeah.
And so then there you go. Yeah.
These little motors.
A seaplane. Spitfire.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. These little motors in here, I see them used all the time for like RC cars and battle bots, drones, all that kind of stuff. They are tiny. They're about that big. They're absolutely minuscule, and they put out some serious RPM, and apparently a pretty healthy amount of torque as well. I want to play around with a couple of those. That'd be kind of fun to do for a battle bot. Which I know I've been saying this for a year. I will be making one soon. It's on the list. Every single maker in the world has a backlog, and I've got a backlog, pages and pages and pages of projects I want to make, which is fine. My 8-armed monstrosity. Oh, this is Tinkercad, isn't it?
Yeah, coming in with some Tinkercad designs, showing off some stuff.
I have seen this model. I've seen this model all over printables. I actually really dig it. This is just, I know I'm bringing it back. This design, does it not look exactly like the Tesla robots?
It does. It looks very, very
Artemis or something.
Yeah, I think it is.
I love robotics. Huge fan of it. I am absolutely fascinated by where we're going with that. And every single time I see one in real life with all the making things that we do, I get giddy as can be. At the same time, my partner is absolutely petrified of humanoid robots, which is the funniest thing in the world. We were in Colorado and we were going down a mall and they had a little Tesla thing in there, and I saw the robot in there. I don't know if it was a mock or the real thing. I think it was the real thing. And I was so excited, I ran in there, and she stayed outside, and she was like, "No, not going in there." She's freaking out. This when we went to Maker Faire, and there was these 3 torso robots, and they were all chatting to each other, and they all had ChatGPT going. So they would one would tell jokes to the other, one would say fun facts, one would just comment on it, and it was just 3 robots talking to each other. She hated that. There's this fantastic video of this. I don't even know what it's called, but it's this humanoid robot, and it's got gray silicon skin on it. But when you turn it on, it breathes. It goes, oh my god. She hates that. She absolutely cannot stand it, and that's why I like it.
I still think they're mainly novelty. I have a hot take here that I think they're not going to be all that used. That single-use robots are like a microwave. It's a robot, right? In a sense, like single-use robots will be really useful, but that these like multi-purpose things it's going to be we're still a long ways away from actual utility.
I don't know, man.
Could be wrong. Could be wrong.
I think did you ever see the very earliest Boston Dynamics robot?
Yeah. I mean, those robots are amazing. They're amazing.
And they started that in the 90s. You know? And it is an exponential rate. They went through a lot of the hard stuff. What I thought the backflipping gymnastics robot that they released a couple years ago. Yeah, they now released another one, and I love the. It is exponential, so I think it is around the corner.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, but for what? Like, and how much is it going to cost? And like, what is it in comparison? Like the robot, I think I'm most interested in self-driving car, right? The robot that drives the car, quote unquote. Not really a humanoid robot, but same idea. Like I see tons of utility in that, but this there's going to be a thing walking around your house. You got to plug it in. It gets things for you. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm getting old here, but I don't see it yet.
I'm giddy for it. I'm giddy for it to be.
I'm interested.
An actual. I think when it becomes a real utility, regardless of what area that is, I think that's obviously when it blows up. But God, it's gonna be rad. I think that's gonna be so exciting, and a little bit petrifying as well. But that's fine. It always is.
Yeah.
Going back to our Discord. Back to the Discord. Didn't Kid make this a little while ago? This is a shower door clip.
Maybe somebody. That's a pretty popular one to make. And click.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Why don't all showers have this? I will say this. I've said this once and I'll say it again. Things that you 3D print, functional print for your bathroom or your kitchen are the most satisfying thing by a mile. I don't understand why it is so satisfying to make stuff specifically for those rooms. It is so much more satisfying than any other projects that I make. No idea why, but I love that.
Yep.
This is something that we're all a little bit excited for. Connie, currently working on my most time and component intensive self-challenge
which by the way is saying something, because Connie has been going through every single challenge and not just going through it, but
blowing us away.
Yeah, but really going into it. So Connie, let's
there's obviously a million bolts and a million threaded holes into this. I can't even imagine. I can't even see what this is, what it's going to be.
I can't either.
This just looks like a pressure foot. I don't know. That these look like linear rails potentially in the corners. I don't know. Connie, we're all excited. Best of luck to you. I'm sure it's going to turn out fantastically. Xander as well, coming up with some more Tinkercad stuff. Love to see it. Oh, this is Jostree's old robot that we all love. Oh gosh, what was the name of it? I can't even remember. But it was a £3 Codebreaker. That was it. That was lovely.
Yeah. So Jostree says, "Oh yeah, working on a vertical drum robot for Ellereth, which is somebody else in the robotics crew, in the BattleBots crew out there, and he's taking a break on Codebreaker for a minute because he's got design burnout."
I feel that very deep in my soul. Yeah, Yeah, burnout exists with design with CAD. Just leave. Just leave. Walk away. Grab a coffee. Come back. It's fine. It is the exact same thing with every single type of writing, music making, editing, anything in the world, even research. Which kind of makes me think that all of them are different artworks, cleverly disguised. But his current design, these drum spinners, have you seen these in Battle, Josh? These drum spinners?
Oh yeah,
These
terrifying.
are mean. They
Terrifying.
are essentially flywheels. They've got so much mass just to pin, flip anything. They're usually really, really tidgy. And I love these things. These are fantastic. I'm really stoked to see this come out, Josh. That's gonna be fantastic.
All right, I just sent a message to Connie. I said, "Are you interested in coming on the pod next week for a reveal?"
Ooh, that would be really fun, actually. I'd like
that would be fun. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
Little RTX 40. I feel like I'm so bad with computer stuff in general. I've never built a computer from scratch. I've taken one apart and put it back together again. That's fine. But I feel like I know absolutely nothing about computer stuff. That anytime someone comes on here and they go, "Oh, I just got this brand new thing, this, and this," I'm like, "That's awesome, dude. That's kick ass. Great. Fantastic. Good for you. Oh, that's fantastic." And I'm like, I have no idea anything about it. I know absolutely nothing about it.
Oh, dude, this one above. I don't think we showed this one off last. Sorry, keep going.
I don't think we showed it off last week.
I just found this one so adorable. So adorable. Derry, I don't think Derry's on here this time, but look at this. Oh my gosh. This is just absolutely hysterical.
It's too much pink. It's way too much pink. Break it up. That's ridiculous. Yeah, and then these
give us some black hangers or something.
Love this stuff. I absolutely love this stuff. And then some little tool cases.
I love tool cases. I love tool cases. Yeah, always so useful.
All right, I think we should get into the errata.
Bum bum bum. Here for the next segment, Jake. I want to frame it just a little bit, right? So we've now gone through and we've reviewed Discord, which, by the way, was thousands of pieces of feedback. Every single end of week piece of feedback from the online course.
Yep.
Book reviews. And what am
Fusion updates.
Oh, we went through every single Fusion update since we launched. And where are we missing? Did we get feedback from any other sources?
Amazon reviews, not too many.
Yeah. Okay. So Discord, Amazon reviews, and the feedback that comes in through our forums. I want to know, is the top 2 or 3 pieces of feedback that stick out to you as either things we did well, things we can improve. Like, what are those biggest things? Like, the first thing that comes to your mind doesn't even have to be necessarily the biggest, but like you're reading through this feedback, what hits you?
The macro from what I've heard from a lot of people is that when we do tangents and when we go, oh, just a little blurb here about the engineering of it, the manufacturing of it, the assembly of it, the 3D printing, the CNC, the laser cutting, just in the little tiny sections, people really dig. And I love to talk about it as well. It is one of my favorite things to educate about. And it's how are things actually made, because it is always so much more interesting than people realize. All the little tiny design features that go into it make life so much more fun. If any of you guys actually go out and buy a 3D printer that has 3D printed components like the Prusa, as you're assembling it, you will have so much appreciation for all of the little tiny design intent and design reasons for all of the assembly, but all the little 3D printed parts. It is lovely. My little printer is going in the back. It was so much fun. And then talking with the Prusa crew afterwards and just giving them just little blurbs of information about, oh, this is where I took a lot of time. This is where it was fantastic. Most of it was absolutely fantastic. It was so nice saying, I noticed this, how clever, how fantastically really clever of a design or really economical of a material. And every single time I said that, they went, oh, fantastic. That's what we changed from the Mark III to the Mark IV. Oh, we were really stoked about that as well. And so little tidbits of that is I think what makes modeling really fun. One of the things that we realized right off the bat is that teaching CAD and learning CAD on its own can be fantastically boring unless there is a goal. So if you're in engineering school and you're learning CAD and you're going, I'm kind of miserable doing this. This sucks. This is boring. The thing that's propelling you along is, yeah, but I'm going to be able to do even more fun stuff later down the line. It's always the carrot at the end of the stick. And as soon as you say, actually, no, you can be having fun right now if you can physicalize some of this stuff with a 3D printer, a laser cutter, making it out of cardboard, making it out of paper. Oh, you've got a buddy who has a CNC machine. Anything of this, as soon as you physicalize it, it makes it so much more fun and exciting. And so for this next version, we're really going to be bumping up all the know-how of 3D printing, all the design intents specifically for 3D printing, which I find is so much more fun. There's plenty of stuff in there that people think is going to be really easy, and then turns out, no, you can actually have even more fun by just making tiny, tiny changes to it, and then you can apply it to all your projects in the future.
Love it. So one of the big things is then the idea behind the design. Why did we make the design decisions we made? What is it about this project that we found interesting and we think is relevant to your journey learning CAD, learning Fusion, learning these skills? And I definitely agree with you. I think that design intent was missing. I think whenever I get so frustrated when I'm learning things, if somebody doesn't tell me why, and I realized we didn't go too much into why. And I realized a trend actually in my own career a little bit. So once upon a time, I designed a chemistry app to teach covalent bonding. And I decided that I could gamify it. And so I nerded out about this topic for a while. And my hypothesis in the beginning of designing it was that people didn't actually want to know the chemistry. They just wanted to have fun with the game. So like I would teach you chemistry, but I would do it kind of below the surface. I wouldn't tell you too much about what you were doing, but you would be connecting two hydrogens to an oxygen to make water, right? Simple things like that. And then we kind of celebrate the fact that you made water, and then we just keep going and building up from there. And without fail, when I got feedback about the game, people were like, I want to know more. What is going on
Which is
here?
lovely.
This is so interesting. Please tell me more. So when I designed the molecules on screen, originally they didn't have actual letters indicating like C with 4 electrons floating around the outer shell. We didn't put the C in there because I'm like, people don't really want to know that it's carbon. They just want to play the game. And like they'll discover that it's carbon throughout. And people were like, nope, tell me. I want to know. That's carbon. What am I making? Why is this interesting? And it was just like, I basically got beat over the head with that feedback and eventually came to this realization, oh, people do really want to know things. They just don't want to know them in a boring way. They want to know them in a way that's interesting and fun and relevant, but it's not that they didn't want to know it. So that idea that I was like hiding the learning behind something has really stuck with me ever since. And I think in some ways, with the 28 step-by-step projects that we do, we have done that. We have said, well, let's just do the project. And through the process of course, we're teaching you somewhat throughout, but through the process of osmosis, you'll start to figure out why you're doing what you're doing and kind of like pick up on these tips and tricks and hints. And
which is why we encourage people to make their own projects as they're going through the course. So that you actually know far more than you realize.
But what we've heard is that people want more. They want to know why they're taking the steps that they're taking. They want to know the design intent of the project before coming into it. So what am I going to learn and why is it important and how's it relevant to my journey? And then how can I apply it later? And it's not enough to just show them how to do something. We actually do need to provide a little bit more context. So just taking it back full circle, kind of arc of my career, arc of my thinking is people are desperate to know.
Yeah, I'm gonna swing it back to a little bit of philosophy. I think that it isn't so much or almost never, if you actually want to learn something, it's usually never the actual topic itself that is important. It's usually the teacher. So one of the things that when I was going through uni, and there's a million different electives that I could have chosen, and I came up with the theory, and so far it has worked every single time.
I think I know what you're going to say, yeah.
That is, if you actually want to have a fun class, pick the course with the most boring name possible to you, or the most boring idea or name, because chances are that the professor is so absolutely thrilled with this topic that they are the most engaged, or you become the most engaged person. They are so enthusiastic about the topic that it actually makes it fun. So I had to take a history class for one of my electives. Going through all the lists, I was like, well, I actually really like history. And most of these are classes that I would normally want to take, but I'm exhausted right now because I'm taking like 16 units. So I'm going to take pagan culture. I'm like, this is going to be hideously boring. This is going to be awful. And I'm like, but I bet the professor is in love with teaching you about the culture of the pagans. And I was absolutely right. It was one of the most fun classes I've ever taken because the professor was just so stoked the entire time. And so if you have a teacher who will take a topic or a subject, history, CAD, engineering, math, chemistry, it does not matter. As long as they are passionate about it, enthusiastic in you learning, they will mix up that container and give it to you. And it's usually more fun. So what I found with all these projects is if we're not having fun with it, it needs to be scrapped. Like Josh and I would go through every single project and say,
you can't fake it either. It's like you can't fake enthusiasm, fake. It's like you either have it or you don't. And the audience, people that are in there go, this person is boring. And you're like, that's because I'm bored.
Yeah. That's why every single lecture sucks.
Jerry says something. Jerry said something that's related to what we're talking about. He said a great topic, and I guess it's going to cut off there. But he says a great topic would be how to design to print without supports or how to design with supports in mind. Jerry, you are nailing some of our thinking here. So we are going to talk more about design for specific processes. We're going to talk more about design considerations for 3D printing. Maybe not with supports and without supports in mind, but certainly the design considerations for the various disciplines. We are going to include that in the next round. So that's awesome.
Annoyingly, we included a bunch of this stuff, but we never actually talked about it in the first version, which is like totally missed the field on that.
That's okay. So we got to learn. And then Spitfire says, I agree. At college, I picked teacher over subject. I actually used to do something similar. I would not go, I had a different technique. I would go to read all of the reviews I could possibly find. And I would be seeking specifically in the review engagement. How engaging is the teacher? So if I came across a teacher that was like, wow, these lectures are amazing. This is the most engaging thing. I didn't even care about the topic. I didn't even care. Like a lot of times those teachers too, it'd be like level 10 difficulty. Like, so they'd have like a 2 stars out of 5 on Rate My Professor when that was in the early days, right? They'd be terrible, but their engagement would be super high. And you go in there and you'd realize, oh, this is a hard class, but this is the most interesting thing possible. So I would just, I would specifically seek the how engaging is this person part of it, and then say, I don't care what the topic is. I'll take anything. I don't even care. It could be lame. It could be boring. It could be a big topic. It could be a little topic. It could be, I didn't even care about the topic. I only cared about the person.
I don't know why I've never asked this. Josh, do you have a Rate My Professor profile?
I do. I don't have any reviews on it yet.
That'll be really fun.
I thought about like badgering people to do it. I'm like, I think this actually matters a little bit, but is it vain of me?
I think it needs to be
reviews of myself.
Oh, it completely is, but it needs to be organic. I think it needs to be exactly organic.
We're in the business of asking people for reviews, so I'm on the fence about it. We'll see. I don't know if it needs to be organic. I might just encourage people to go on and review at the end of the semester. Like, hey, leave a terrible note for me, please. Yeah.
All right.
So
go back to the book.
To book and feedback and what's included. Please, in the comment section, by the way, I forgot to, if you have questions about Fusion, as usual, you're welcome to ask them. And also, if you've got an idea about something we can include, for example, Jerry's man, I can't talk today. Whatever.
Come on, you can do it, man.
I'm not going to say that word. A great topic would be how to design and print without supports or how to design with supports in mind. So that was Jerry's suggestion. If you have a suggestion, pop it in the chat there. We would love to know. And we'd love feedback. And maybe we'll put some polls out on Discord and start to ask you guys as we get more familiar. So back to you, Jake. Back to you.
So one of the things that we see all the time on the back end is that people get really stoked for it. They'll do the first few projects, really excited, and then they will usually go through, and we see a huge drop-off right after week 4. And for some reason, not for some reason, somebody said, "Oh, the engineering drawings that should be at the back of the book because that's all about exploring new workspaces." And this is kind of at the beginning, and that was like dumb light bulb moment. Of course, why is it? Same thing for the appearances. We want to get you guys making assemblies and complex models as soon as possible. So we're going to move up the joints and the assemblies and the motion animation right up into or near the beginning of the book, and then pushing all of the niche topics over to the back. We had a few people saying, "Hey, the appearances and the rendering they're kind of brother and sisters, so why aren't they together?" You're absolutely right. Shove those together in the back. Hey, the engineering drawings and the exploded diagrams, those feel really connected. You're absolutely right. Why didn't we think of this first? Thank you to our fantastic community. Bunch those together, chuck it in the back of the book when you guys get to those more niche topics. The other really nice thing is that because we've now gone through all of the Fusion updates, there's now a bunch of new tools that I didn't even know about. Things that I've been toting that I thought was still a problem, never tested it again. For example, some of you
why
guys
don't you pop up Fusion? Let's see it.
Well, there's something that's a little bit more obvious.
Okay.
So one of the things that that we ran into for years and years and years was if you wanted to save a file as an STL for 3D printing, everyone goes file export. And what that does is that it sends the STL file, which is very small, like kilobytes level, to your local drive, to your desktop, and then it sends it to your cloud account. So you guys all have Fusion Cloud website accounts. And it would take an excruciating amount of time, like 20 minutes for a simple project. Really just absolutely exhausting. And the fix was, okay, you actually want to save as a mesh and then all this extra stuff and put it out the way. And then hidden, just one sentence in like one of the updates from earlier this year was export is now fast. What? Huh? And then tested it out, like export STL desktop save, and it was done. It was even faster than the save as mesh, and it was like, hallelujah! So nice.
Good job, Autodesk. You nailed it.
I know. Finally.
Shout out.
But there's a bunch of really new handy tools. Some of them, weirdly enough, are available for the free versions, and some of that aren't available for the paid versions. Very strange. So Josh and I have the educators and the paid versions, and we don't have access to fasteners, configurations, couple other tools that were added this year. We just don't have access to it, which is very strange. So we're going to be focusing more on the free, accessible, or student version. Those are the same things, and kind of leaning into that. So everybody has
no. Just to be clear, the free and student versions are not the same thing.
Oh, are they not? Excuse me.
No, the student version is the professional version.
Mm-hmm.
So student version includes all multi-axis milling, the whole deal.
Oh,
I don't have a limitation for files. It is 100% the full version.
Gotcha. All right.
Minus, I don't think they do generative design much.
No, that was free like the first 100 days when it came out, and now it's like $100 for 100 credits, and each generative design takes like 10 credits or something. So it's fairly expensive.
Yeah, I'm curious. Anybody in the chat has played with generative design at all? I don't. I
did when it came out.
Yeah, I hear sometimes in education settings people do use it, but if you've used it in the chat, let us know. I haven't found myself using it.
I really want to. I want to play around with it, and I want to use it to make a battle bot, because that's all about reducing weight as much as possible.
I do think so. I need to activate it, but we are now officially. It's true, and we will put it on social media, so it must be true. We are now officially an Autodesk Learning Partner. So we have gone through the process. We can activate that account. The reason I say that is because we actually might have access to some design credits for generative design.
Oh, sweet.
I don't know. I have to look into it a little bit. And I'm sort of brainstorming here out loud again with our podcast crew in mind. Is do any of you have an interest in certifications? Are any of you interested in going deeper? Like, I'm curious what we might do with the learning partner stuff, whether or not we'll branch out and go a little more technical, professional, or if we'll just continue to focus the way we do. So just let us know in the chat. Kind of curious.
Yeah.
All right. So that's what other new stuff?
The other new stuff is that we've got a bunch of new projects that are coming out.
Not our new stuff. Not our new stuff. I'm talking about anything else new in Fusion that we should let our crew know about, and then I want to move.
So the fasteners tool that you guys all have access to, very probably, is very, very similar in functionality as the final product, as the McMaster car tool, but far harder to use. I found McMaster car is like this ginormous catalog of every single type of bolt and screw and nut and washer that you could even think about dreaming about imagining, and it is easier to use for me than the fastener built-in tool with Fusion, and I'm not 100% sure why. Maybe I'm just dumb not using it correctly, but it's got a bunch of features like, it identifies all the holes that are the same size, and you clicked on this bolt so you can put it onto every single hole in the entire project. That's awesome. And then you go, I actually wanted a pan head instead of a countersink, and it just repopulates every single one of those. That's awesome. Trying to find, it has like a little search bar at the top going,
I had exactly
M5 by 25, and it was like, huh? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
What? And I was like, fine. Can I quarter 20 pan head, please? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I'm like, slotted screw? And they're like, never heard of any of these words. What are you talking about? So the search feature kind of stinks. But I hope there is some merging with it. Some of the functionality where I want a bolt, I want this head, I want this size, where it's just super duper simple all the way along, and then chuck it in. That would be fantastic. But for right now, I actually recommend people stay away from that tool and stick with it McMaster.
Yep.
Because we can have just the code for it in the PDF, and you can just copy and paste it in there, and you go, bling, here's the set screw, and then plug it in. So it's far easier for us. But if you're playing around with fasteners and you find that you like it, please drop it in the Discord how to use it, because I would love to know. It just seems silly that I don't know what to do.
We got a good suggestion here from Joe Street.
Ooh, that is a
Interesting.
good one.
Explain the difference between universal file types such as STL, STEP, and 3MF. That is a really great topic for our intro chapter.
That's a good one.
Or maybe just after the first thing we 3D print, where now you have to consider the types of files. We drop that in early.
I don't think we've talked about it on the podcast. Like really, really snappy what all these things mean.
I don't think we have either, but I suggest we don't yet talk about it. Maybe tease it.
Oh, come on.
You want to talk about it?
I do a little bit. I was hoping
to get into feedback, and my fear is that we will veer from that.
This is going to be tangent city this whole episode.
Okay, go for it.
I'm going to talk about it really quickly though.
Go for it.
Every single time that you have a 3D model, it is essentially a mesh. It is a series of polygons that are wrapped around your model like a blanket, where there is no thickness, there is no inside to it. It is just the outside, which means it is fantastically tiny file size, like 100 kilobytes, that you can send to your slicer, and it then fills in the gaps for you. So the file type is super small, and it does all the work in your slicer, which is why they're so important. An STL has been around, I think, since the 90s. Super, super consistent. You'll find it all over printables, Thingiverse, and then the other one that begins with a Y that I can't remember, Yeti, something like that. That's a really classic one. Very, very, very difficult to go from STL to CAD. Very, very hard, because it's just viewing it as a mesh, and then you need to convert it, and then it's still polygons, and it's a nightmare. So even like a simple box is almost impossible to actually edit in any substantial way. That's where step files come in. Step, STP, or STEP are exactly the same thing. So when you pull it in, has some design history from a CAD program. So you can make something in SolidWorks and open it up on Fusion, and it looks exactly the same way. If you have a fillet on there, it's not made up of 1,000 little triangles. It is actually a smooth surface. It won't have the design history, so like timeline of it, but you can actually work with it in a normal way, which is very, very handy, but it's a fairly rare tool. Going back to the STL, that's been around for a while. So I believe Autodesk came out with 3MF, which is essentially an STL, but with a bunch of efficiencies and metadata behind it. So it has reviews, it has notes, it has when was this file made, when is it modified, etc., etc.
Materials, colors,
behind the scene. Yeah, it's STLs on steroids. But I found that it is the exact same experience. The amount of times that I need to know about materials and colors and metadata for just an STL that I'm likely just going to 3D print is basically none. If I need to know about all that information, it's going to be on the actual CAD file or in an engineering drawing. That's it. And then OBJs exist and nobody uses those anymore. Done. All right. Oh, that was like 2 minutes. All right.
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Okay.
Okay.
Where should we go, Josh? Lead the way.
I want to continue talking about let's focus in on some projects. What projects, now that you've reviewed them all, what project would you say either caused the most problems, was frustrated? Like, what was from an experience perspective, the project that just didn't cut it?
The biggest things that we found that people ran into was the filament guide and the plastic building brick, which for legal reasons is not a Lego brick. It is annoying because it's stuff that's out of our control. Like, oh, after we publish it, Fusion changed some of the polygon limitations, and so people get errors. That sucks. That stinks. So now we're going through, and all the changes that you guys have all left us, we're now incorporating all of those into it. But I think more importantly, what we found with both Josh and I's experience is that we didn't put in enough steps in the early chapters, which is completely fine. We want to make this challenging in the later chapters, but if you guys are annoyed in the early chapters, that doesn't serve anyone whatsoever. It doesn't make you bad at CAD. It just means that we didn't do our jobs correctly. So we're going to be going significantly more in depth on some of the early chapters, especially chapter 1, which we're going to be merging between 0 and 1, and actually making projects that I really dig. One of the things that Josh and I always kind of bound ourselves to is that we want to make sure every single project is interesting and is something that you can make. But the first project in the book is this weird block shell thing with a cutout. That's kind of the classic thing. And it isn't anything, which really sucks. And so the very, very first project that we're going to be having in the second version, I can grab it really quick, is going to be this. It is going to be a passive phone speaker that you can 3D print. So the first thing that you design, dead simple, and is really handy and is actually really, really loud, right off the bat is something 3D printable. We want to get you guys holding your projects as soon as possible. And so actually having something that is interesting and simple and teaches you all the same things, we can stretch it out and make it more fun. That is everybody's benefit, including our own. Same thing with the Taurus. We're actually going to make it a donut that has bites in it, and you can add decals and stuff. Making something look rad right off the bat was something that we didn't realize that people liked as much. In the engineering world, having decals and colors and the correct background they're all niceties, but they're not necessary. And what we found is that when you're teaching people this, it is completely the opposite. It is absolutely necessary because it kind of turns some switches in people's heads where they go, oh, I am making this thing because it looks like it. You know, if the entire book was just gray steel default gray, like nobody really cares about it. You don't have any connection to it. So as soon as we can add in all these decals and change the colors and all that stuff, it makes life so much more fun, and so much more fun to actually make as well. So that's a big part. We're going to be really pushing adding in the visuals of it as soon as possible. So not only can you physicalize it, but you can show people. You can go, look what I made. Doesn't this look awesome? It's like, yeah,
I think the same is true for laser cutting too, right? Like as soon as you make a drawing, a lot of people don't recognize that those drawings can be exported as a DXF.
Yeah.
And then you can laser cut them. You can import them into the
Mhm.
software that you use for laser cutters. I think, showing off your ability to go from idea to physical product is quick. It's easier than you realize. We
Mhm.
just kind of missed a little bit of an opportunity there. And also, with that piece, we get to talk about design considerations right off the bat for 3D printing,
Yeah.
because you often are not designing in a vacuum. We tend to make designs to make something physically in real life, at least when it comes to this style of modeling, right? Not necessarily characters, although people do make characters as well. But for this style of modeling, like, you kind of go into it thinking, I want to make stuff at some point. So it only makes sense that we focus on making stuff.
I totally agree. I think making things as quick as possible and as soon as possible is so important. And because of that, we actually have quite a few projects that we're changing to make it either 3D printable or laser cuttable as soon as possible. Like I said, every single project in the entire book has been changed or modified in some way. None of them are perfect. They're all going to be updated. And so, one thing that I want to let you guys know is that if you haven't gone through the entire course because it was getting difficult or you didn't think you'd use it, anything like that, I highly, highly, highly recommend going through from the beginning for the series 2, because we're going to be putting in lots of really good information, but you'll pick up on things that you completely forgot about. Really simple little tricks.
Yep.
One thing that we tell people all the time is, even though we are, CAD experts, whatever that means, I still go back and rewatch other people's YouTube videos
All the
about
time. All the time.
CAD 101,
All the time.
basics, fundamentals, beginner, because there's always at least one trick in there that I go, oh my God, I've been doing the work around for so long, and this tool is
There's
fantastic.
something else too that I think I want to hit on here, Jake, and that is, from which perspective are you being taught? So one of the benefits of going and looking at other people and reading and watching other tutorials is that all of these people have different perspectives. Some of them come at it from 3D printing, some from manufacturing and traditional manufacturing backgrounds, some from CNC manufacturing backgrounds. And what's super interesting to notice is what they care about and how they think about workflows. Like, I was watching
the design
video,
style.
Exactly. I was watching a video the other day, and actually the guy was going back and forth a lot between drawings, and he was talking about the reason to mirror versus pattern versus new component versus nested component, right? He was going through all these reasons, and he was showing how that would populate his bill of materials accurately. So when he goes to make the thing, and I'm like, oh, this is clearly somebody that's been manufacturing for a long time. This is neat to consider. I might not design like this, but it's another tool in my tool belt. So let me go ahead and think through a workflow as if I'm going to manufacture this at scale, so that when I have my engineering drawing at the end, I've got a clean bill of materials at the top. So just kind of interesting stuff like that. And obviously, like, 3D printing is another one. People will design completely differently for a 3D printer, whether it's additive or, SLA, right? So you're not going to design those parts the same way necessarily. Maybe you do, but so I really love it for all those reasons, is that it forces you to think with different considerations in mind.
Yeah, I think the designing styles, the fact, I think when beginners come into it, they don't even realize that there's different styles for designing things. And it's like, in the same way that there's different woodworking styles, in the same way that there's different drawing styles, the way that you think about making things changes radically from person to person. And very often, there's no one perfect way to do it, because that changes whether I'm just designing a project for myself where I want it to be as fast as possible.
It's like writing styles.
Yeah.
Everybody develops. First you mimic, and then you start to develop your own style, and you finally figure out what works best for you.
And then even designing for a peer, designing for other people, designing in a company, designing a robot that includes 6 people, where one person is really fantastic, but the others are kind of intermediate or beginner. If I'm designing something that I know I'm going to just pick away at the project for like years, I need to develop an architecture right now before I even make the first project. Like my R2D2 project that I've been working on for years at this point. I haven't touched it in a while, but it's been a while. Making the architecture for it and doing research on what are all of the tiny pieces. Like, we've got, the high level, the final project, but then there's the legs. Oh, or what are the different pieces of the legs? Oh, what are the different parts of that? Breaking it down, becoming as organized as you possibly can within reason, because you know this is going to be taking a long time to build, is super duper important. And that's a style that you only get after doing it your own way for a long time, and then you actually do start to build something with someone else, and then things get screwed up.
Totally. Totally agree with you. Jake, to tease it, when are we planning to publish revision 2?
We are planning on publishing it around July.
July.
Or August.
So if you have feedback, if you have thoughts, if you have ideas, if you have stuff you want us to include, we're going to show off lots of projects. I'm so pumped. That's like one of the things I'm most excited about is, and I think this is back to learning philosophy, is when you see examples of other people having success, you know that it can be done. You don't necessarily know how to get to the end point that you're after. You don't. So showing off examples of what people in our community have made, specifically with the projects themselves or outside of the projects, is probably the part of the book that I'm most excited about. So July, and we're going to refilm a bunch of the tutorials and
all of
rethink
them.
some of the structure and strategy. I'm excited. I think you and I we agree. So July. So hold your breath till then.
We'll be picking away at it for a little while.
July. Yeah. So we're going to.
Yeah.
Goals.
That's the plan.
Hashtag
I know.
goals.
Yeah.
And Jake,
We'll
we've actually got another book in the works. Actually, a couple more books in the works. We, of course, we published the Tinkercad book. And if you have little ones, nieces, nephews, or people that are just starting out in CAD and are really intimidated, check out Mastering Tinkercad on Amazon. This is a bit of a shameless plug. But also, the reason I mention it is because
we can make it unshameless by saying it's completely free on our website.
It is still completely free
as
on our
always.
website. You can, the student version is free, so if you want a free copy of that, we make you feel guilty for that a little bit. Maybe I'll change. Maybe I'll change that guilt factor. I haven't decided yet. But anyways, I wanted to tease the other book that we're thinking about, Jake, and that is a Fusion Fundamentals workbook.
Yeah.
You want to tell me a little bit about that?
So this actually comes from a bit of your experience. So Josh teaches CAD and CNCing at a university, and it is one thing that he found is that even if some of his students go through everything, go through all the projects, they will still kind of fluff up on some super duper simple things like constraints or sketches.
I would slightly modify. I actually don't think constraints are super duper simple. I think they are once you've got a handle on them. It's like the classic thing that you're like, oh, once you understand relationship between things digitally, then and you can start to make some sense of it. But from my experience, I would say I found exactly the opposite.
Really?
Yes, that
I disagree. I think some of them are fairly easy.
Some are fairly easy. I think parallel's
equal.
fairly easy. Yes. And Josie said, just really quickly, I know I'm bouncing around here. Here I thought you were going to announce the Onshape course. Good news, Josie. We are still in the process of building the Onshape course, and we are also working on an Onshape fundamentals workbook. So we've had some success with the early launch of the Tinkercad workbook. People really, really like that style, how we went into
the pocketableness of it.
You can put it in your pocket. You can learn it. It's not so intimidating. And also it solidifies fundamentals. And, anytime you want to learn something new, it is absolutely imperative that you understand at the deepest possible level, the most basic structures. And so we are absolutely working on the Onshape course now as well. And we are also working on the Onshape workbook. So it's going to be a busy year for us, Jake.
It is. Yeah. No summer vacations for us. No, we're just hanging out this year.
This feels like vacation to me. This sounds so stupid and cheesy, and not always. Of course, we get burned out occasionally, but I during the weekend, I find myself wanting to do stuff like build out the workbook and think about like the next thing that we're going to teach and the next book that we're going to launch. I'm having a lot of fun, a lot of fun. Oh, and Jerry said, consideration here. He might be right. We might need to figure out a way to do this simply. I'm not sure yet, Jerry, how we're going to do it or if we'll include it in a separate book. But have you considered a chapter on surface modeling where you get into some really complex shapes?
I don't have that much experience with surface modeling. What you tend to get from surface modeling is organic shapes where you can push and pull simple objects like cubes or cylinders or tubes and get really, really ergonomic shapes. The amount of projects that I make that are ergonomic is pretty damn low. And what I find is that it's actually a lot easier to play around with than people expect. If you guys go into the freeform tool, which is the little purple cube, it is super duper easy to use. You click on a
Kind of
face
fun.
and you can
It is kind of fun too.
you can pull it and twist it and stretch it and
It's
this and that.
easy
You
to
can set up
use.
mirrors.
It's easy to
Yeah.
use to do random things. I think it becomes a little bit harder when you go, I have this specific shape that I'm
I
trying
need to
to
make
achieve.
a PlayStation grip or something.
And
It's like,
and this is where my lack
ugh.
of experience too. I have not spent a lot of time in freeform. That's just not where we've done it. But you know, TBD.
We might
Jerry,
invest some time into it for the
if you
workbook
have
potentially.
Jerry, if you have an idea for a project that might work for us,
Mm.
I'd be interested in a little step-by-step tutorial collaboration. So
Yeah.
let us know what you
The
know.
Jerry
And
chapters.
and Jerry, I'm guessing actually that because we've seen a lot of your models and you're starting to work on that kind of stuff. I'm guessing that you actually know more about it than we do.
I bet actually, yeah.
Yeah.
From all the different products that you're making. Yeah,
Yep.
definitely.
So
There's a whole world of organic sculpting, whether it's meshes or forms or T-splines. Not a world that I know very much. I'm a solid kind of guy. And I don't know much about it.
That's so fantastic. Oh, Jake,
Yeah.
where does that leave us? Where
I
does that
think
leave
that
us?
leaves us near the end.
I think
That
it
is all
does.
coming down the line. We will be slowly trickling out some content promoting it, yada yada yada, but always with lots of healthy new tips and tricks and information along the way. Yeah, thank you guys absolutely for every single bit of
You guys
comment,
rock. I want to say
concern,
once again,
information. You guys
Jerry,
are rad.
PC Van Vliet, Joe Stree, all three moderators on our Discord. I see such helpful comments. Actually, just as we were on here, Steven, who we were talking with on our innovation cohort here in Sacramento, was having a trouble with his 3D printer. Jerry popped in to answer the question. And it sounds like that problem, he's just sorted out what that problem might be. So this is the type of stuff that's like, honestly, it's magic. It's really magical to have a worldwide community of people who are helpful, especially for others who are excited and interested to get into these fields. Jake and I just couldn't be happier. This is amazing.
Yeah.
So thank you all. This has been the CAD Class Podcast. Once again, I'm Josh.
I'm Jake.
And we will see you all next week.
See you guys.